Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Red Dot Projections. I'm Lucas, and unfortunately Eric couldn't make it today, but we'll be back as soon as possible we can to be together. But today we'll be going through our predictions for the 2022 governor elections. Keep in mind it is very early, and so far I have plotted out all the safe states that we won't need to discuss in this video. So to just put that out there to save some time. And with that being said, let's get right into it. So let's start with the likelies. The first one is the state of Virginia. This is Terry McAuliffe. I don't think he'll have any trouble getting getting elected to another term because the suburbs of Virginia have swung a lot to the left, and I think Terry McAuliffe is very much capitalizing on the fact that President Trump has endorsed his opponent, Glenn Youngkin, and using that against him. And President Trump, or former President Trump, has accelerated the swing of suburbs in Virginia to the left. For example, the Northern Virginia suburbs have swung a lot to the left recently. Maryland is safe. It's currently held by Larry Hogan. However, he can't run again, and Maryland's quite the safe Democratic state. The next state we'll be going to is let's go to South Carolina. Democrats are running a good candidate, Joe Cunningham. He was elected to the House in an upset in 2018. He ultimately lost in 2020. He represented the Low Country, which is this area here, South Carolina 1. He lost to Nancy Mace. He does have decent name recognition, I would say, as being this moderate underdog guy. He hasn't run statewide before, which could prove to be a problem for him. And I do expect him to end up losing within maybe like 9 points because Henry McMaster is Republican in a decently Republican state. The next state we'll be heading to is Iowa. Kim Reynolds is here. I also think that Iowa's turned a lot more to the right recently, so that will be likely D. Mike DeWine in Ohio. I still think he might actually be getting primaried, but nevertheless, Ohio has moved far or enough to the right, especially in a Biden midterm, which could prove to be not so good for him. Texas is also likely, in my opinion. However, this could change if Matthew McConaughey chooses to run. Polls were showing a race neck and neck with him, and McConaughey was even leading by 13 points over Greg Abbott a couple weeks ago. The other problem for Greg Abbott is he's also getting primaried by Allen West, I believe. So that will definitely be very interesting to watch to see what ends up happening there. In Colorado, Jared Polis shouldn't have any problem. I'm only putting it as likely because I think it's going to be like 13, 14 points. Biden won this one by 13.5. New Mexico, Michelle Lujan Grisham, again, no problem. New Mexico is also a pretty blue state. Connecticut, I'll put as lean. Ned Lamont, it is a pretty blue state, but what does hold him back is how much, or rather how little Ned Lamont won by in 2018. He only won by around 3 points. And you also might be wondering, why are these three safe states safe? This is Charlie Baker, Phil Scott. And in this video, I'm assuming that Kristen is staying in the governor's race and not running for Senate because we haven't had an indication yet that he is running for Senate. However, if he does run for Senate, this probably flips to the Democrats because honestly, I think Kristen is probably the only Republican who can right now do a very good job at winning. Let's head now to the state of Nevada. So this is our first lean that I'm putting here, actually. This is Steve Sisolak. I don't think any notable candidates so far have yet to announce that they're running, but Nevada has been interesting these past few years. We've underestimated it a couple of times for the Republicans, especially in 2020. We thought it'd go in like 5 to 10 points and went in 2. So we're going to keep this one as the lean D. And I believe it is also true that Clark County is trending to the right a bit. Minnesota, this is Tim Walz. I think Democrats won't have a problem here yet. Potentially in future years with rural areas moving more to the right, maybe it could cause some issues. We saw Colin Peterson's huge defeat in Minnesota 7. but for now, we'll be keeping this one as likely D. In the state of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer is here. I don't think she'll have too bad, won't have too much trouble winning this seat. I remember a really good, not a really good, but a decent candidate potentially running. I forgot his name. I believe he was the chief of the firefighters or the police department, something with that. Apologies. But I still think Gretchen Whitmer will hold on to the seat. This is one of the more bluer states in the Rust Belt area. Pennsylvania, I'm also going to keep as lean D. This is an open seat race. I believe the attorney general right now is Josh Shapiro. I believe he will be running for this governor's seat. But I don't think Republicans are really going to put up a super good candidate for this seat. Potentially a representative. Yeah, I'm not too sure yet. Maine, I'm going to be moving it to lean because we did get news that I forgot his first name, but former Governor Lepage is running for the governor's seat. He was term limited, couldn't run in 2018. Jeanette Mills picked up this seat, and we'll probably have to go against former Governor Lepage. However, I don't think Lepage really stands that much of a chance in such a blue state. Yes, Susan Collins did win here, but I think voters have resonated with her a lot more than perhaps with Lepage, because I do remember Lepage being quite unpopular when he left office. The state of Arizona is interesting because Republicans are running a pretty good candidate in Kimberly Yee. She has won statewide in large margins before. For example, in 2018, Kirsten Sinema won the seat by 2 points. Kimberly Yee managed to win by 8 points, outrunning Martha McSally by a whopping 10 points. Now, the thing is, the interesting news, and I think I might have said this in an earlier video, is that she might actually lose the primary to Matt Salmon. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. But that would be very interesting because I feel like Kimberly Yee might be the only good candidate here to run because Democrats are running Katie Hobbs, who's the current Secretary of State. She is a pretty good candidate to run here as she has won statewide. So let's assume that Kimberly Yee does win the primary. If that's the case, that's probably somewhere from lean to tilt R, because she probably would defeat Katie Hobbs. If Kimberly Yee loses the primary, that's a new story. But the other thing I want to mention here is that even if Kimberly Yee wins that primary, she's been running a very pro-Trump type of campaign. I'm assuming that she did that because she wants to win the primary. You know, she's saying America first in all her ads. In her campaign launch video, she mentioned President Trump several times. That could prove to be potentially deadly in a state like Arizona because a lot of these suburban Republicans are traditional Republicans. They're like Mitt Romney, John McCain Republicans. We saw in 2020, they went away from Donald Trump as Joe Biden picked up 9% of those Republicans. So this will be very interesting to watch. The state of Florida, I'm also going to be putting as lean. The COVID situation down there is obviously not looking that great right now. But the thing is, I do want to say that in 2020, we said the same thing about Ron DeSantis, and Trump ended up carrying Florida decently. Ron DeSantis, he's very popular among the Republican base, very unpopular among the Democratic base. Potentially, but the problem, again, that I might have mentioned in our Bill Nelson video is the Florida Dems and the Miami-Dade Dems need to get their act together. You know, they failed both times, 2018, 2020, they completely failed to bring out their voters. I believe I mentioned that in the 2018 Senate election, Miami-Dade Dems were able to bring Florida Miami-Dade Dems Florida Miami-Dade Republicans were able to bring out 95% of their voters that voted for Donald Trump in 2016. The Miami-Dade Dems only managed to bring out 66% of their voters from before. So they are not doing a good job there. So I'm holding back on giving this one to Charlie Crist. Charlie Crist is the former governor of the state. He actually was a Republican when he was governor, but he switched parties to be a Democrat. He's going to be running against Ron DeSantis, and he's likely going to be the nominee, likely defeating Nikki Fried. So I'm going to go lean R for now because Charlie Crist is a pretty good candidate to run here. Lots of name recognition. Lots of people remember his record. Perhaps those moderate voters could swing to him. But again, Ron DeSantis potentially could get that base out, and the Florida Dems really are not doing a great job. So that one is lean R. So Georgia is a very interesting one, and honestly, I don't think I'm ready to call Georgia yet because it's a tough race. It's probably going to be Stacey Abrams versus either Brian Kemp or Vernon Jones, who is primarying Brian Kemp. We've seen how well the Georgia Dems have done and how well Stacey Abrams can bring those voters out. However, these new voter suppression laws could prove to be detrimental to Democrats in 2022. Potentially, she could end up losing because of that. But yeah, I'm really not ready to call it, especially without knowing whether it's going to be Brian Kemp or Vernon Jones. So we're going to leave that blank for now. Apologies. Kansas, the current governor is actually a Democrat, Laura Kelly. If you recall, in 2018, Laura Kelly defeated Chris Kobach, who was the Republican candidate. Very unpopular guy. People really didn't like him. And we also have to remember that Greg Orman actually took 6% of the vote in the state in 2018. Greg Orman ran as an independent in 2018. He also ran as an independent against Pat Roberts in 2014. I think that the people who voted for him probably would have voted for Chris Kobach had he not been on the ticket. So potentially there was some vote splitting there. And, keeping that in mind, Laura Kelly barely won in this very red state before. I don't think she'll be able to pull it off again, especially, first of all, Chris Kobach was a terrible candidate. I think that they're running a much better candidate now. I think they're running the former governor. Is it Jeff? I don't remember his first name, but I know his last name is Collier. He lost the primary in 2018 to Chris Kobach. He was the incumbent governor. So we'll take a look to see what happens, but we'll be putting this one for now at lean R for probably Jeff Collier, because I do not think that Laura Kelly really stands a chance, especially in with how red this state is. She kind of got lucky in 2018. And finally, we have the state of Wisconsin, Tony Evers versus a potential Republican challenger. This race I'm also not ready to call because it will be very, very close. Tony Evers barely won and in unseating Scott Walker in 2018. Wisconsin has become a very, very close battleground state. If you recall, Joe Biden barely won it by like 0.6. Wisconsin is one of those more conservative states in the Rust Belt. Given so many factors at play at this state, it's a pure toss-up for me. I can't make a call yet. If anything, I personally do believe it slightly leans to Tony Evers, but we need to wait on that for now. And with that being said, that is the end of the video for today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this episode, please hit the like button. If you like our content, please subscribe. And we'll see you in our next episode tomorrow. See ya!